I'd like to transition to talking about accommodations related to the work environment.
Mhm.
So, Tom, could you share in what ways you've had to disclose your diagnosis at work?
All right. So a little bit about my accounting and autism journey. So I was able to secure an internship at the Walt Disney Company after graduating from college. And I got the foot in the door, so to speak, from a classmate who introduced me to his managers and got the interview set up, and I ended up making it into the internship program. Now, prior to that introduction, I had disclosed a couple of times during an interview, like once I interviewed to become a bookkeeper at a local golf course. I mentioned I had autism and I didn't get the job. Thought to myself, maybe I shouldn't say I have autism. That could be a reason I'm not getting hired. And employers or potential employers can't say, we didn't hire you because you have autism. That's illegal. So they won't say why they wouldn't hire you. So I went to the Disney interview without saying that I'm on the spectrum, but my qualifications showed that I was good for the job and I earned it under my own merit. So I start the internship, and about a week in, I realized I was kind of in over my head. I didn't really understand the work or the tasks, needed help, and would ask a lot of questions. So a couple of weeks into the internship, the manager met with each of the interns. I was working with 5 other interns, met individually. And that was where I took the opportunity to disclose my diagnosis and explained, I have difficulty embracing this concept. Can you maybe give me my directions in writing? Or I may ask the same question multiple times. It will eventually stick if you could please be patient with me on that. And my manager was very receptive, appreciated that I was able to confide in her about that. And I ended up being promoted within that department and became the lead intern supervising those interns a few years later, and they got their workload done faster than ever in the department's history under my supervision, because I literally wrote the manual on how to do a property tax return. That's what we were doing, property taxes. And I gave it to them, and they had fewer questions, became more efficient, and that's how I made an impact in that regard. Now, Disney didn't offer me a full-time position with benefits after the internship expired. So I went on to work at another internship at a Big Four firm, worked a couple of temp jobs, finally secured a permanent job with benefits. And I'd never had one before. It'd always been something that was like not a full-time entry-level position. So I finally get this job, and my manager at this job knew my manager at Disney. So I'm thinking he's going to be caring. He's going to be open to my accommodations or what I need on the job after I've been hired. But the opposite happened. I explained to him, I need assistance. I have autism. Here's how you can help me. And he said to me, you lied in the interview. I don't have to help you, and I'm not going to.
Wow.
And that's illegal. So HR got called in. I had a job coach going to bat for me. But I ultimately found out just how miserable I was working for him. And I think also how miserable I was working in accounting. So I think that situation, all that hard work I've done, all the jobs I've had, only to have my diagnosis thrown back in my face when I finally crossed the finish line, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I resigned from that job after 4 months. And thankfully, his manager, my manager's manager, saw the potential in me, saw that I had gifts or could create value for the organization in other aspects. And I got offered basically a glorified receptionist position. I think they made this position just for me so they wouldn't get sued for what that manager had done. But I stayed in that position. I didn't have anything else lined up. I became that glorified receptionist for 2 years and add, I think, more value to the organization than I would as the tax analyst job I had that I quit from. But more and more, not only requesting those accommodations, but how you go about disclosing your diagnosis to an employer, be it before, during, or after the interview, is your call, the individual's call, but be mindful of the consequences of doing so. If you disclose during the interview, you might not get the job, and they can't say you didn't get it because you have autism.
Mm-hmm.
If you disclose after, you should be able to get accommodations, but be mindful you might be told no. You may have a situation or that the employer can't work with. Like I mentioned earlier, they can't move mountains for just one employee. And if it's reasonable accommodations and cost effective, because employers like accommodations that are cheap or relatively easy to work with, then you have a higher likelihood of staying with that company. And on the same note, being mindful of what you need help with and do your own homework. Have an option, like I mentioned with Disney. Can you give me my directions in writing? Just be patient with me while I ask the same question a lot, rather than just drop it in the employer's lap. Say, I have autism. What are you going to do about it? That's not going to earn you any brownie points with anybody. So the point is knowing yourself, understanding what kind of help you need, and keeping the employer's budget, time, energy, effort, etc. in mind, so you can be a team player and make it easier for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's unfortunate that that happened to you, but in a way, you kind of found a different calling for yourself in your career by getting out of accounting, right?
Very much so. And after I left that glorified receptionist job, I did take one more accounting position. And by then, I hadn't even gotten the basics down, or I'd gone from like a receptionist job to a full-time staff accountant. And so many years had gone by since I graduated college, and I didn't have any actual real work experience, that by the time I got to like the full staff accountant position, I didn't even know the basics, or I couldn't like reconcile payroll, for example. And I did have a job coach, but a job coach tends to, remember how we talked about soft skills? A job coach knows how to help with soft skills. They may not know the hard skills. Like a job coach would not know about reconciling payroll or other accounting procedures. So there was a 6-month review for this staff accountant position, and it basically said that you need to know your stuff, like the hard skills, in the next 3 months or you're gone. And the following day or two later, I put in my 2 weeks notice. I realized that accounting is not for me. I hadn't grasped the concepts. I also had a keynote presentation scheduled in Hawaii 2 months from then, and I didn't have the hours to take the time off. So leaving accounting after that 6-month review, realizing that I'm not in the right place, I didn't know my stuff, and there's something waiting for me that's going to be better and make a bigger difference. That's where I belong. And I did that speech in Hawaii, got a standing ovation. My first keynote, Honolulu, Hawaii, standing ovation. And that's where I knew I'd found what I was meant to do.
You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.